Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Anthony with themovieblog.com, and I'm back here with another video. This one, I'm actually going to do an explanation. What is the Venom movie about? Now, I know the Venom movie is coming out, and we've all gotten excited about it, but let's be a little honest here. This is really a movie that nobody asked for, but we're getting it anyway. And I'm pretty sure not too many people know what to expect when this movie drops. So I decided to put this video together using my knowledge on the character, the history of Spider-Man, and just give everyone a great idea of what this movie probably is going to be about when it releases. Now, Venom is a cool enough character, but he really doesn't have a classic storyline of his own. So the people behind the film, they're digging deep. They're digging real deep to go back to when he got his first solo series and more. Now, the Venom Lethal Protector series was a 6-issue limited series. It was published way back in the 90s, and what was remarkable about this series is that it starred one of Spider-Man's most popular villains at the time in its own solo series. This wasn't a common thing. You didn't really see a lot of villains running around with their own comic book series at the time. There wasn't like a Dr. Octopus comic or Kraven the Hunter or Green Goblin or anything like that. Now, this wasn't a surefire thing for Marvel back then. Now, this was in a lot of ways an experiment. They actually put all their eggs in this basket. They grabbed their most popular Spider-Man artist at the time, Mark Bagley, and tasked them with helping the series find its footing. And if you look at the way Bagley drew the character, like, look at this. Look at the way he did his teeth, the venom stuff coming out of his mouth, and the way he drew the character back then, you can see why. And he doesn't draw the character so much this way anymore because he's really toned down the scariness of the character. But back then, it was setting the template for what we're seeing with the character and his cinematic debut today. So they went ahead and made an appearance at the Brazilian Comic-Con to debut some details about the movie. They revealed that the movie was going to be inspired by two particular stories. One, the Lethal Protector miniseries, and the other being the Planet of the Symbiotes miniseries. Now, as someone who grew up with these stories and read them as they were released, I have to admit, I have no idea why they chose these stories. They're not really classic stories by any stretch of the imagination. But again, Venom doesn't really have an iconic story all his own without Spider-Man. And I guess it's as good as a place to start as any. So a lot of people hear the term Lethal Protector and without really knowing what it means and just accept it as good enough because it sounds cool. And that's fine. But it's not like Venom is going to be Sony's own Deadpool. It's not going to be that kind of a Lethal Protector, although that would be pretty cool to see. I just don't think that's the direction that they're going. Now, the Lethal Protector comic story is about how Eddie Brock as a character moves to California. He's already Venom, and he set some sort of truce with Spider-Man in that he'll go to the other side of the country just so that they won't run into each other. Their beef, their bad blood is that deep, like on sight. If they see each other, it's to the death. But because there's some sort of truce, he decides to move all the way to the other side of the country. What winds up happening is some shadowy organization gets its hand on samples of the symbiote and find a way to duplicate its properties in others. Now, I'll be honest with you, I can't really remember. It was like 93. I think I was like 10 or 11 back then. I can't really remember if they were clones or something else, but the matter of the fact is that 5 new symbiotes were created and tasked with capturing Venom: Scream, Phage, Riot, Lasher, and Agony. Now, you won't see these characters in the comics anymore because they all died because they all sucked. And again, I guess the Venom movie has to start somewhere. The other source of inspiration is a bit more interesting with the Planet of the Symbiote story. Now, that story was a tale about how the symbiotes planned to invade the planet Earth. And it took Spider-Man teaming up with, his most fearsome enemy Venom and others to stop the invasion. The other characters that were involved were Carnage, offspring of the Venom symbiote because his living organic suit is asexual and can reproduce on its own, and Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider. Now, I think it would be really, really cool, really gumption of Sony to introduce the Scarlet Spider into their cinematic world. Since they signed off on Spider-Man appearing in the MCU, they could theoretically just populate their Spider-Man universe with his clone. I really think that would be really cool, but I seriously doubt Sony has that planned. Instead, I'm betting that the Venom movie will be inspired by these stories in a much more packaged way. Some shadowy organization is making suits with militaristic aspirations based on some alien goo that they found. He tries to fight crime, maybe some people get hurt badly. Then next thing you know, people who are committing crimes wind up dead on the street. They blame Venom because, reasons, and he learns about these other symbiotes that are out there, and they're the ones that are the real threat to humanity, and then learns that there are a few more symbiotes that were created and wants to ensure that they're not a threat to humanity. Somehow one of the other symbiotes, Carnage, goes absolutely nuts and wrecks the laboratory. Now, Carnage is a really cool character to an extent. He's like a one-trick pony. You just really want to see him tear things up, and he's really, really good at it. Like, he's one of Spider-Man's most dangerous villains because of the complexities and properties of his suit compared to the Venom symbiote. He's stronger, he's faster, he doesn't set off any sort of spider sense in Spider-Man. He can do things with his symbiote that the Venom symbiote can't, and he actually doesn't even contain as many weaknesses as the Venom symbiote. So he's really, really dangerous, and they've used this character in a number of ways. He's so popular. They've even introduced him into their cartoons. And in the cartoons, they don't even bother to tone down how dangerous this guy is. He is lethal, way more lethal than Venom is. Now, I'm expecting Carnage symbiote to go nuts. He's one of the other that were created by the shadowy organization. He wrecks whatever laboratory or base that they use as a base of operation and comes up with his own crazy plot to open a portal to the home of the planet of the symbiotes so that they can invade and take over the earth, and it's up to the one person who has the skill and wherewithal to stop them, Eddie Brock, aka Venom. Now, there have been rumors that Tom Holland has appeared on set. He's going to be doing like a Peter Parker cameo in the film. I don't really think we need that. I don't really think we want that. His presence easily takes away from Venom anytime that they share any time with each other, whether that's in television, whether that's in comic books, and I'm willing to bet it's going to be the same thing in film. You don't really want Peter Parker taking away the spotlight from this character. Now, that sounds like a decent enough plot. It's a decent enough story. It's not really interesting to someone who's read the comics. I'm like, But for those who are just a general audience, they don't really know the comics, they're somewhat familiar with the character, they know the name, this might be a good enough story for them, and this might be enough to make it a success in theaters. Now, that's my 2 cents. That's my best theory on what this Venom movie is going to be about when it releases. What do you think this movie is going to be about? I mean, the Lethal Protector series, the Planet of the Symbiote series, this really seems like this is it. It's a slam dunk. But if you got a different theory about it, let me know what you guys think of what this movie is going to be about in the comics, and I'll be glad to check it out. I'm really interested in seeing what other people think, because I can't see them going any other direction. If you're new here to the movie blog, make sure you drop a like, you hit that bell, you subscribe, you join us, and I'll check you guys in the comments to check out your theories, at least for the first day or so. That's all I got for this one. I'll check you guys later. Peace.